Hey, hello, family, friends, parents, guardians. Welcome back to another conversation with Tamika. Today, I am so excited to have another wonderful, wonderful special guest. As I mentioned to you all before, July is all about getting the parent perspective. And although today we are going to talk to you from a parent perspective, I would like to say that I had the opportunity to meet this beautiful young lady before you. Oh my goodness, what was it, 5, 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah. Yes, where we were both working with pre-K 3 students together. So although Miss Tiffany is an educator, she knows that today we're talking from the heart of a parent. So before we get started, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, whatever you want to share.
Okay. So first of all, thank you again for the opportunity to be here. Listen, I don't take it for granted at all. So my name is Tiffany. I live in Houston, Texas. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I just love children. I've been working with children for over the past 10 years, been a parent for over the past 10 years as well. So just educating myself and being able to educate other people, that's what I'm passionate about. So you'll hear more about that later, but yeah.
Thank you, Miss Tiffany. Now, let me say this, because you're not aware of this. You actually inspired me to start this process.
Wow.
You inspired me to start this process because I watched you when you and I first started working together. Your daughter was still real little. Yes. But she was a toddler, I think, back then. Mm-hmm. And since then, you've added to your family, and just watching you grow as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, as a servant of God, and seeing your willingness to say, let me share a portion of my experiences. Mm-hmm. For those of you that have watched my other videos, you've seen me wearing my Rise Up First t-shirt. But today you see me wearing a different t-shirt, which is actually the baby of Miss Tiffany. And I would love for you to just share with us what caused you to birth Every Child Matters.
Whew, okay. I'm gonna keep it short because, oh my goodness. So Every Child Matters means literally every child matters. And I was inspired from my years working with children, and I was inspired by my own children. And even outside of that, I was inspired by the stories you hear on the news. I was inspired by the stories I've heard from other people, their experiences, their childhood, and being parents themselves. And what I found is that so many children, so many adults, we've gone through things when we were children, and maybe we never got the help that we needed to get, or, we're still struggling, and we are now having children and we don't necessarily know how to help our own children because we never got the help. So it's like every child matters, like what children say matter, what they do matter, who they are matter, their dreams matter. Everything that encompasses the child, the whole child, it matters regardless of what society says, regardless of what other people say, because we hear, oh, children are the future. Well, yeah, they're the future, but they're the present as well, because I believe that the very things that happen to them when they're children, that shapes their perspectives, that shapes the way they see things and see other people, and they're going to eventually turn into adults. And whether or not they get the help that they need, that's going to be a big difference in, how they turn out. So that's what Every Child Matters means. It's like it's not just talking about it, it's being about it.
Right. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper with that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go deeper to the roots remain.
Okay.
Because let's talk about the fact, again, we're talking as parents, right? Yeah. One mother to another. And you just briefed briefly touched on it, but I know there's so much
Oh,
deeper than the surface of what you just
yeah.
said with
Yeah.
when I, as a parent, am still healing from my hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then I birth a child,
Mm-hmm.
not realizing the scars that I carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about, we talked about Every Child Matters and understanding that what we do as parents with our little ones now ultimately impacts who they're going to be as adults in this world.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for me as a parent that's still healing? What does your book, The Roots Remain,
Mm-hmm.
how does that help me as a parent?
Okay. Okay. So the root remains, what it is that there's different parts of the book. So each book follows, I want to say about 5 different children from the ages of, I want to say 5 to about 14, and they're all going through something different. And it starts off with the perspective of the parents or adults looking at these children and their behaviors, but then the perspective changing and you're being able to hear the children's side of their story. So being a parent, it's, we're taught, and I'm just going to speak on what I was taught. So growing up, I was taught, I'm the parent. You do what I tell you to do. And I love my mom. I love my parents dearly. But it was like what I say goes. And I get that. But at the same time, that it constricts children in so many ways, because some parents will use that as a way of dominating their children, either because it was done to them or because in some kind of way that parent lacks and they're like, oh, well, you're smaller than me, so I'm going to dominate you. I'm going to, even some parents, unfortunately, I'm going to bully you because I know that I can. And that's not the best perspective or the best stance to take at all, because you hurt people, and that includes parents too. Hurt parents can hurt their children. And so that's where we have to be mindful. And a lot of times we don't want to do this. We don't want to see parents as being these people that have flaws, especially when it comes to moms, because I'm not trying to veer too far, but you hear a lot about daddy issues and deadbeat dads and all that kind of stuff, but you don't really hear too much about mommy issues. It's like moms can't do any wrong, but that's not true. That's not true at all. Nobody's perfect, so we're all going to make mistakes. But when we continue to turn the blind eye, when we continue to sweep things under the rug, nobody gets the help that they need. Nobody gets the healing they need. Nobody gets the chance to be free. And so when that happens, it becomes a generational thing. And so eventually somebody has to say stop, like enough is enough. Like, I know this is the way that I was raised, but I don't necessarily have to do the same thing. And it becomes making an effort to want to be different, to do different, because just because it was done to you, it doesn't mean that it has to be done to your child. So that's where that being humble and being like, okay, and realizing and taking those steps, because sometimes people, oh, you can't tell me what to do with my kids. These are my kids. These are my kids. And I'm, oh my goodness, I made a post today. I don't think a lot of people saw it, but it said, when we stop seeing children, when it comes to parents, when we stop seeing children as ownership, and when we start seeing them as an opportunity to being stewards, then things will change. Because again, this may be going kind of off, but I noticed that when it comes to certain objects, say just any object, and when it's ours, we'll handle our own object with care, but at the same time, we'll be a little bit more flexible. Like, we may drop it here and there and be like, oh, okay, it is what it is. But then for the most part, when it's somebody else's item, we try to take better care of it. because we don't want people to view us as, oh, they don't know how to take care of stuff. And so we tend to take better care of other people's items versus our own items. And God was dealing me with this. It's like, yes, our children are our children, but ultimately He's theirs first. Like, as parents, we're stewards. We're stewards. We're looking after them. Like, parenting is more than parenting. It's more than being a mom and dad. And so I think when those things shift and when we have a different perspective, we can be better off as parents. And it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not supposed to happen overnight. But as long as you can say, okay, I recognize that something is off, or I recognize that something is not the way that it should be, then you can take the necessary steps for you and your children.
Yes, ma'am. So I think it was today, I was looking at your post and you had posted a picture. Was it today with the parent holding the bus back? And I think the caption was about generational curses.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? Because when I tell you that picture spoke 1,000 words to me, because what you're saying is so true, where yes, we have issues where none of us gets out of here unscathed. You know, so yes, we all have our hurt and our pain that we bring into whatever relationship, whether it's a friendship, a marriage, or even a parental child relationship. But let's talk about what I can do as a parent to stop that generational curse bus from hitting my child. Like I said, when you posted that, I was just, I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Definitely pray. Pray. Prayer and even therapy. I'm an advocate for therapy. I'm an advocate for counseling. I'm not the one to be like, oh, well, that's only for crazy people. No. You can go to therapy for anything. A lot of times people go to therapy and counseling because of things from their past. So anything that you are struggling with or anything that you have yet to work through, go to therapy and do not be embarrassed about it. Do not be humiliated by it, because you'd be surprised how many people go, but they don't say anything. But at the end of the day, it's about you and your children. It's about your generation. It's about your children's generation. It's about your grandchildren's generation and all those things, and educating yourself. Like I always say that you should always be a student. Like school doesn't start, like learning doesn't start once you get in school, and it doesn't stop once you get out of it. So you have to make the conscious effort and decision to go to different webinars, and a lot of them are free. You have to make the decision to check out books or buy books, because there's so many. I just ordered a lot of books today, and I was like, yeah, I gotta continue to educate myself, even if it means going to school, taking different classes. There are so many resources that are out there, but if you don't take the effort, if you don't take those steps, then you're going to miss out on a lot, because it's definitely available. Sometimes you just gotta either ask somebody or, just go searching yourself.
Yes, ma'am. And speaking of resources, I know you have been a huge advocate for reading, and you've been doing some unboxing of books and things of that nature. Feel free to talk to the parents again. And we're talking mother to mother, parent to parent, but I see you doing some amazing things. So when you telling parents, hey, there are resources out there for you, let's talk about some of the resources that you yourself have offered via technology. I mean, because that's the really awesome thing about the time in which we live, whether you're in Houston like we are, or in Chicago or New York, wherever you are that you have access to technology, you have access to resources, including those that your organization offers. So can you talk about that?
Yes, so I have started, I want to say in March. So in March, it was put on my heart to start doing workshops for children. And so it was focused on journaling. I love writing. I'm very big on writing. So I found out that a lot of children are struggling because they don't know how to express themselves in a positive way. And so I thought, okay, why not introduce journaling? Because with journaling, it can be so vast because it includes writing, it includes doodling, it includes just being very creative. So I started a journaling workshop that's been going on. At first it started off like every other month, but now it's every month. And I actually have a back to school bash coming up soon. But during that, I always ship out a package with different goodies and different things like that. And it always encompasses just setting the atmosphere with music, different activities. The kids get to introduce themselves to each other so they get the opportunity to make new friends and just having hands-on activities. I'm not the type of person to be like, womp, womp. No, that's not how I learn. And I know that's not how a lot of children learn, to just hear all this overload of information. Is when they put their hands to something that sparks more of a memory, and it means so much more to them. So I do offer journaling workshops for sure. And then even outside of that, I would recommend books in general. Anything related to what your child has experienced, you can look it up on Amazon, you can look it up anywhere. And there are so many different authors that are, bigger name authors, but even, indie authors as well. Those are great people to look into, because I found an author, I can't remember what her name is, but she wrote the book, The Conversion of a Thug.
Okay.
When I tell you that book, when you talked about generational curses, that book came to mind, because there's the main character, I can't remember what his name is, but he is, just struggling with a whole lot. But it goes all the way back to his great, great, great grandma and what happened to her. And then it literally follows each generation until it gets to his generation. And they had gone through so much. They had gone through things from sexual abuse, molestation, just all kind of stuff. And it got to the point where the main character, he has to decide what he's going to do, because he finds out he's going to be a father. And it's actually, I'm not going to tell too much of the story, but it just shows how what happens from generation to generation affects each generation until somebody again comes along and says, okay, that's enough. Right. Like, it's not like, this is where the generational curses stop, and this is where the generational blessings start to flow. Like, we're not around here anymore. No, we're not doing it at all.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I love it. So then when you think of your children, mm-hmm. what are the legacies that you as a parent are seeking to leave for your children, starting with those generational blessings that I think, like you said, it's not even just enough to say that the generational curse stops with me. Yeah. So if the generational curse stops with me, then what generational blessings am I seeking to leave? What is that foundation that I'm then leaving my children looking like, so that they can be blessed?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. So I did grow up going to church. I did. So making sure I do that, but then taking it a step further and teaching at home. So that's another thing that God has been dealing with me. Like, okay, I'm like, I have my 10-year-old and I've been working with her, but I'm gonna be honest, being such a young mom when I had her, a lot of stuff that I didn't know, that I know now, I didn't know then. So I'm like, okay, what is it that I can do differently? So making sure that I educate my babies at home, and I don't want them that the only time they hear about God is when they go to church. And it's like this separation. It's like, no, y'all are going to hear about God here. Y'all are going to hear about Jesus. So that's definitely one thing, and having that foundation to be strong, even though they are children, because people don't talk about it, but the enemy, he don't care. He don't care. He will come after grown people, and he will come after your children. He will come after your children, and he don't care. He don't play fair at all. And I think we can sometimes be like, oh, well, they're just kids, you don't have to go in there. No, they know a lot more than we give them credit for. Like, teach these babies to pray. Teach these babies the authority that's in them. Like the same God that's in us as when we're adults is the same God that's in them when they're children. And I think a lot of times we underestimate that. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it at all. So that's one thing. And then another thing is just simple things to, like, where I mentioned, oh, because I'm the parent. Right. I'm the parent. Like, no, I'm not doing it. When you ask me why, I'm going to tell you why. So that way you have an understanding, and it's not just because I said so. Because
Right.
if you're not educated, then, and if you don't know, then the possibility of you doing it anyway is going to happen. But if I tell you, do not touch that stove because it's hot, or do not run into the street, or do not do just anything, being able to educate our children and let them know the reason why, I feel like that'll help them better, and that'll even help us. And we're going to repeat ourselves regardless. They're children. It's it comes with the territory, but I feel like the more we tell them why, then they'll have a better understanding as to why they shouldn't, and they'll be more mindful themselves. Like when they may have the opportunity to do something, they'll think back, especially depending on their age. When they get older, they're like, oh, well, my mama did say this, or my dad did say this, so that'll register with them. So that's another thing. Another thing is just speaking life into them and being more mindful, being more hands-on and more engaging with my kids. Like every moment counts and every moment matters. Like I know as parents, we have Word, we have our own parents, especially if you're a single mom, because I was a single mom for like 8 years. So I know what it's like, and I know how much of a struggle it can be. But even in your downtime, if you could find some kind of time, or sometimes we have to make time, like it's sacrifice, you gotta pick and choose, but like choosing your children is always going to be worth it.
Right.
So making sure you take the time to read a book with your kids, take the time to watch a movie with your kids and have a discussion about what you watch, take the time to pray with your children, and take the time to draw, whatever it is that interests them, like take an interest in that and don't take it for granted. Another thing, I can go on and on. I'm not gonna go on and on, but another thing for me would be to nurture those gifts and those talents. I didn't get the luxury to go to dance class. I didn't get the luxury to be in anything really. That didn't happen until I was old enough to sign up for band, because I had an interest in that. But like whatever your children have an interest in, whatever gifts you see, like nurture those gifts, because you don't know where that can go. And it's not even a point where, oh, well, they may become famous. No, it's not about that. It's about believing in your children enough and caring.
Okay. So you were just sharing with us to take time to tap into your child's interests, really cultivate those things with them.
Yeah.
And I want to take this opportunity to thank you again for your willingness to share from a parent perspective. And so before we close, I do want to give you the opportunity. You talked about the workshop that you have coming up. Do you have specific details about it that you could share at this time?
Yes, I do. So whoever is interested, you can either email me at handtoheartcoaching@gmail.com, or if you just want to go ahead and sign up, you can also visit handtoheartcoaching.com, and just make sure you click on the events tab, and it'll give you all the events that are happening so far this year. But again, the back to school bash is on August 10th, and it is going to be from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. But yeah.
Awesome. And for people that are interested in following your YouTube channel, because you have some really awesome videos out there as well, how can they find you?
You can find me at Tiffany is her name. When you put that in, I should pop up. It's been a while. It's been trying to balance everything. It's been a while. I do have videos up there, and just search Tiffany is her name and you should be able to find me.
Awesome. Thank you again, Miss Tiffany, for taking the time to talk to our audience today. Thank you, family, friends, parents, guardians. Hopefully you are learning a little bit more, as again, here at Rise, we ask you to let our experience be your teacher. So hopefully something was said that can help you avoid some pitfalls. And again, remember that we are here to be a community of care to help each other so that no one has to go this path alone. Thanks again for tuning in.
Thank you.